I hear the call of the stars.
G'day everyone, tTWhite-Ra here. Welcome to the replays from probably one of the biggest stories of MLG Anaheim 2011. The matches between ePGimix and Duckload tTWhite-Ra. This is going to be on Lost Temple. We do have Gimix spawning over here in the left-hand side of the map over at the 9 o'clock position. If you've got a watch on, if you don't have a watch on, maybe you've got a compass, it's the west side. But Gimix here, of course. I hope you all watched the little SCV rushy thing that I put together, just showing exactly what had happened between these two particular players and obviously how we'd gotten to this spot in the extended series. So make sure you go and watch that if you haven't already, because I can't be bothered explaining it again. It's obviously been around the internet on Team Liquid and Reddit and everything, left, right, and center, all over the place. So you should know by now exactly what happened. Hopefully you're just here for the matches. And of course we do have White-Ra over here on the right-hand side of Shattered Temple. Now this is a little bit of an interesting matchup here in terms of how this map plays out. Do keep in mind here, Gimix just saying here, I wanted to beat you in a real match. White-Ra saying, yes, I understand. Smiley face, and you have a good chance, but he wrote chance. But we'll see what happens between these two players here. White-Ra not doing anything cheesy. Of course, I don't think you could cheese against someone who's just done probably one of the more honourable things that has gone around in the StarCraft community for a while. Gimix, meanwhile, building up that racks at the front door of his main base, and he'll probably go perhaps for some sort of pressure at the start of the game. But Gimix now, in fact, is going to be putting down a second racks just down in the bottom corner of the base here. It's not often scouted, but I would suspect that White-Ra may find it eventually once he gets to Gimix's base. Of course, he is scouting up here to the top position. This is the MLG version of Shattered Temple, whereby there are no close ground spawns, only the close air, and then of course this cross-map position as well. So we'll see White-Ra get inside the main base here. He will spot that one racks. We'll keep an eye on what he actually sees in full here. Now, with the orbital command going down, he knows that there could be some sort of perhaps a fast expand here, given that it's only one racks that he's seen, and still hasn't actually seen this one just down in the corner. But the Marine will try and take care of this probe before it gets too far to see that secondary barracks, but I don't think it's going to anyway. But here comes the probe just sitting around, may actually spot it. Now indeed he does, so he knows that the two racks is there, the potential for some sort of early push is there, but without the gas it's probably not going to be anything like that, I would assume. So we'll see what White-Ra does to counteract that. Meanwhile, we don't have Gimix's scout inside the base of White-Ra just yet, but let's take a look ourselves at what's going on. We've got the Cyber down, spinning away with that Warp Gate tech, and in fact that SCV is just popping along now, so it's just jumping in this base right about now, and he is going to see what is going down. There is a chrono on this gateway. I believe there is already a zealot out. It is just at the middle of the map at the Zelnaga Watchtower, just checking out what's going on. A secondary gate has been constructed as well. That is just about to warp in. The SCV trying to have an argument here with the Stalker, but I tell you what, the Stalker wins every single time. And now we've got Gimix with a few Marines out on the map at the moment. It's obviously not a deathly sort of force that he can just win the game with, considering White-Ra does have that second racks up. But the Stalker with some good micro should be able to get some shots off. Perhaps if he's a little bit careless with the micro, the Marines may get a few shots themselves. The shields is just about depleted here for this Stalker, so White-Ra will need to be a little bit careful, but he should be able to fend off this Marine attack for the time being. And as we can see here, Gimix with these Marines now getting quite low, a couple of them very, very low, especially this guy. He needs a serious band-aid because that guy is on 5 health. But that's enough of that attack for the time being here. 2 Stalkers are out as well for White-Ra, so he is going to be just doing some early pressure, perhaps putting some harassment on the front here. If you can get some harassment down on the front of a Terran's base before they can expand, that will delay the expansion and really do some damage to their particular build they're doing. But as we can see here, Gimix going for both the refineries there on those Vespane geysers. Meanwhile, we've got a little bit of a skirmish out the front here. 2 Stalkers, of course, will be able to do a bit of damage here with some micro, and of course with that Zealot to tank at the front as well, may be able to get some more hits in, but he does have to be very careful. There is quite a decent squad of Marines out here. They will, of course, need to get into a bunker shortly because they're starting to dwindle in their numbers. They are getting a little bit low on health. That micro from White-Ra is just absolutely spot on there, and here goes the bunker. So tTWhite-Ra, meanwhile, just down at his base, picking up that natural expansion. Got a Nexus going down there. It's just about, it's doing quite well. It's in fact almost complete here, but the 3 racks pressure is just about to commence from tTWhite-Ra. We'll probably see him get perhaps a pylon a little bit closer to the base, or perhaps he's just going to use that one that's just off the cliff. But the Stalkers trying to deal with this SCV on top of the bunker there will delay the bunker just a little bit longer. The Zealot gets taken out. There are 5 Stalkers in total though, but certainly a lot of Marines as well. So if the Marines spread out nicely and keep their focus fire going, they should be able to do some damage here. But the Stalkers just massively overpowering these Marines quite a bit there. When they actually do, when you've got a lot of good micro on those Stalkers, they just do a fantastic job. But now that that bunker is complete, the Stalkers will have to back off for the time being, especially while they have very low shields here. But another gateway on the way, a robotics facility as well, so tTWhite-Ra is going to transition into something probably robo-focused, I would assume. He does have that natural expansion up and running, so he will have double probe production coming out quite soon. And as you can see, on the Harvesters tab, the Income tab in fact, we've got 35 probes, 36 now for tTWhite-Ra compared to the 30 of Gimmix. And Gimmix at the moment will need to start getting some heavier units out, because if these Stalkers get into a little bit of a greater number, they will be quite hard to contend with. But as we can see here, Gimmix is now getting the Siege tech up and running, along with the Siege tank, perhaps a second one in a moment. And yep, there are actually 2 coming out. The Stalkers trying to do some damage here to this bunker. If they can take down one of the bunkers, that will really give them a bit of an edge here. But it looks as if the SCVs have been pulled off the line for the time being, and will be repairing that bunker. And until the tank comes out, this is a lot like Brood War. A lot of you, if you guys have played the original Brood War, you'll be aware of this sort of attack here, where you'd have some Dragoons outside harassing a bunker, and then until the tank comes along with siege mode, the Dragoons will just sit out the front and be quite annoying. But as you can see, the tank is now here and ready to rumble. The siege mode will just about complete now, and on the tab there we can actually see a Warp Prism is on the way from tTWhite-Ra, so we may see some crazy special tactics here out of tTWhite-Ra, and I would not be surprised if we saw some DTs or something like that. Perhaps he may do a little bit of a switch into that. He does have, in fact, a Templar Archive, so he's going to be going, it looks as if it's going to be some sort of 6 gates along with a Warp Prism. We'll keep an eye on where that Warp Prism is going. It does have 3 Zealots inside, probably going to look to do this drop around the back of the mineral line here in the main base of Gimmix, and we'll see if Gimmix is adequately prepared to actually defend that. Gimmix, in fact, looking to take a 3rd base, whether it be the gold expansion or perhaps the corner expansion hidden away from the Protoss for the moment. We will not know just for the time being, but he's doing a nice job with his economy here, currently sitting at 44 Harvesters, slowly catching up to tTWhite-Ra's 48 probes. And obviously for the moment here, we'll be very dependent on how this Warp Prism attack goes. And here it does come through the back of the base there. Gimmix can be aware of that. It was in spotting range for just a moment there. tTWhite-Ra now dropping the Zealots inside, not doing any pressure at the front, but we can see that these Zealots are hacking away at some of these SCVs. Some of the forces of Gimmix will need to retreat inside the base to take out these Zealots, and they do retreat back inside the Warp Prism. So tTWhite-Ra doing a fantastic job of micro here, making sure that these units stay alive whilst doing as much harassment as he can. Now, in fact, heading down the backside of the natural expansion, about to drop in here as well. The siege tanks are there, so that is going to be quite an interesting battle there, with the siege tanks shooting away at those Zealots. They'll actually put some of the splash damage onto the SCVs. What an amazing attack there by tTWhite-Ra, utilizing the fact that those tanks were there. I'm not actually sure if that was the whole point, but it certainly did a good job. A little bit surprised these Stalkers aren't trying to do a little bit more, but of course with those 4 siege tanks out ready to go there, it will be a little bit difficult for them to push in at all. The Warp Prism now resupplying itself. That is one very cool facet of having a Warp Prism. If you run out of units that you dropped on the ground, just build some more in a very secluded spot, load them back in, and you're ready to go again. So we'll see what tTWhite-Ra is going to do here. We've got these, in fact, now 5 tanks. There's a 6th one on the ridge as well. So quite a lot of firepower here for Gimmix to keep a hold of the front of the base. But the problem is these drops inside the main and the natural expansion. We can see the tanks again doing a lot of damage. A lot of these SCVs quite in very low health there, and we can see the Warp Prism now switching into warp mode, just dropping in 6 Zealots there on top of that mineral line. A lot of damage being done to these SCVs. As we can see, the Zealots will try and do their best to pick up some more kills as well, but they're not going to get too far with those tanks off to the side. The Warp Prism now deciding to retreat. Let's have a look at what tTWhite-Ra has been up to. while this has been going on. Switching into very heavy tech here with some Immortals, some Archons, and a lot of Zealots, of course, as well, with that trying to keep that gas at a decent amount so you can build those very tech-heavy units there. We've got charges now done as well, so he'll be well ready to actually just run into battle there and blast away at Gimix's units. In fact, taking the third base down here in the corner and now deciding to come inside the gold here, catching some of the tanks out of position there. The Warp Prism now is going to try and perhaps dump some of these Zealot Bombs on top of the tanks there. Does get a couple of Zealots out, but loses the Warp Prism. Now the Archons are going to come into effect here along with the tanks, taking some of the damage of the tanks, and there we go. What a beautiful play there by White-Ra. Just a lot of harass there down at the back of the mineral line here at the main, and then in fact the natural as well. Just really depleting some of the mining opportunities for Gimix to utilize there in that game. And while that was happening, White-Ra just teching up, getting some of those very high-powered units there, and even taking a third base. So we'll go that as of course, as we mentioned in the little SCV Rush intro in the previous video, which I'm assuming everyone has seen by now. This was actually just right at essentially at 0-all for these particular matches. So now White-Ra is now 1 up, and we'll go into the next game and see whether Gimix can take a game off White-Ra or whether White-Ra will proceed through to the next round. Cheers.